See that what we were able to execute so far is the upper inflow crevasse. We executed the outflow crevasse. You can see the timeline that we're on. 10 p.m. yesterday to get the upper one done. The outflow crevasse, we got that done this afternoon. Now the other crevasse, the other outflow crevasse, was scheduled to be done at 10 a.m. tomorrow. And as Colonel Reichling just mentioned, we just were able to procure additional slurry mix, and we'll have that delivered to the site. And we'll make sure that we can continue to work to get this third crevasse done. But at this time, the timeline is still shifting towards the right. As Colonel Reichling just mentioned, as the water comes down through this floodway and out here, there'll be a little bit more water inside the floodway. About a foot more on the setback levee, and that's not going to have any impact in regards to safety from that perspective. So as that water backs up, there'll be a little bit more velocity here until we get this third crevasse going. So we're going to continue to work to get that third crevasse open. I think I'll end by just saying that. We've been fighting this historic flood in all of the states that it's impacted, and I can't tell you how proud I am to see Americans on either side of the river, upstream or downstream of the river, just reaching out and volunteering and helping each other as we move forward. In the different areas that I've seen floods in my last 10 years, you would watch guys give their last sandbags over to the guys on the other side of the river, a different state, different community, just because a flood brings everybody together, and that's how we Americans work floods in that particular area. I did fly over the floodway myself about an hour ago. It is operating as designed, as Colonel Reichling had mentioned, but it is quite sobering. When you give the order to operate something like this and you execute about 150 tons of slurry mix and have that type of impact and flood a number of our farmers and the farmland over this short amount of time. But as we continue to look at the floods and see what the impacts are next, we haven't finished the peak here. We'll still be working here, Crothersville, St. Francisville, and on down through the system. With that, I'll open it up for questions.
So what's the risk to Crothersville at this point and the levee there being tough?
That's Colonel Reichling's area.
Right now, we see no increased risk at Crothersville. We are confident that the floodway, or the levee and the flood wall, will perform as designed. There is concern that the floodgates are at 50 feet, and I believe the current crest is at 48.5. I think I've seen lately. What we have done is we have taken flood fighting measures there in concert with the mayor of Crothersville, and basically what we have done is build big sandbags around the floodgates and install pumps. So if we do have wave wash or splash over of the floodgate, we'll be able to immediately suck that water back up into put it in a big pool and put it right back over on top of the levee. But that levee currently is performing as designed, as well as the flood wall.
I would also say that the people at Crothersville need to make sure that they stay very close and tight with their local law enforcement and their local government folks on how the local government wants to respond to that. Yes, sir.
Mr. Stoddard, the impact of that blast last night, was that what you guys expected, or was it a little bit more ferocious impact, and how far it traveled?
No, I think it was what we expected. It was explained to me before operations. You would see the det cord light off, and that's what you saw travel down, and then you saw the explosion. So that's exactly what we had expected. You may have felt more than that, obviously, because of the low clouds, and as that picked up and got into the atmosphere, it would just roll down with the cloud cover.
So that's why the impact was all the way to Kelso, Mexico, and Arkansas.
Well, I haven't had my engineers to look at that. From my experience, I would say the answer is yes. It traveled down the atmosphere, the clouds. Yes, ma'am.
What
Yes, sir.
effect do you think that giving that additional slurry mix will have on the timetable?
Right now, we're still, we just purchased the additional required materials about 20 minutes ago, and we're trying to get them to the site within the next 24 hours. With that, it'll come to site, and Colonel Reichling needs to rally his troops again and go on out and do that work. So getting the material on site, maybe 24 hours, and then some more time after that. Sir?
Do you have a sense of when you'll try to rebuild this levee, the main one at the top?
I don't have a sense of that at this point. I do have a separate team working in Vicksburg, trying to look not only at this project but at the whole system. The whole system, Mississippi tributary project, is under enormous pressure. We need to send a team back to look at those the flood walls and the levees, make sure that when this water does go down, that they behaved as designed, and make sure that we can put them into operations. And we'll put a plan together and submit that up to headquarters. Other questions?
Yes, the system that, when you explained about the system, a lot of lay people don't understand. You're talking about as far reaching as Cincinnati, Louisville, up in the upper Mississippi. This flood is going to have to be fought all the way down to the Gulf. So could you elaborate on that, please?
Certainly. The Mississippi watershed is the third largest watershed in the world. We pick up water as far as New York and as far as Montana. So 41% of the United States drains into the Mississippi. So we're picking up water from pretty much everywhere where these rain events have been going, and they're coming into the Mississippi River, and they'll head out to the Gulf of Mexico.
That rain event that occurred Sunday evening, that kept training those storms up in the Ohio Valley, that was the tipping point, wasn't it?
Exactly. That water went directly into the Cumberland and the Ohio rivers, which went behind the Kentucky Barkley, and we held on. General Peabody held on to that water as long as he could, and that was an enormous event.
What would be your recommendation down the road in terms of occupying some of this floodway land in the future? Now, clearly, the farmers aren't going to want to give it up, but would you recommend that nobody live in those areas?
Well, at this point, what I'm going to look at is to restore what I'm authorized to restore using the funds that I have.
Can you explain what that would be?
Well, right now I have the authority to put the Mississippi River tributary projects in place, which is the levees, flood walls, which is important to reduce flooding in this part of the U.S. as well as in support navigation. And so that's my authorities that we have right now.
Can you say what the likelihood is that you'll have to open the floodgates in the two places in Louisiana, and when will you make that decision?
The chances of opening up the Bonnet-Carré are high, and the chances of opening up Moganza is medium to high as well.
When will you make that decision?
Probably the Bonnet-Carré as early as Monday of this week, and Moganza another 7 days after. Another 7 days after that.
Sir, can you put this into perspective in comparison to the flood of '93? I mean, we're dealing with quite different circumstances in my experience.
Yes, but yes, I think these are much higher flows than what we have there, and this is a flood of record in all of the gauges that it's impacting here.
Sorry, can you clarify, Leland, this is the flood of record in all the gauges it's impacted? What does that mean?
Perhaps I overspoke in that. In many of the gauges, they're at flood of record. What that means is there's a gauge there that says, and you've probably seen on a lot of flood walls, said this is the highest that it got in 1927 or 37 or 93 or 97. Yes, sir.
Sir, it's also brought to our attention at yesterday's announcement of the actual activation of the project that there were some natural overflowings occurring just out of Keywater Station there, a place called Third. Can you speak to that, and was that part of the actual design that was to occur before the activation that you guys were aware the overflow would happen?
I'm aware of no overtopping of the mainline levee. Colonel Reichling flew the levee, and I believe that's what you saw as no overtopping of the mainline levee.
There was There was a report, and we confirmed it last night prior to the execution of the project, that there was some overtopping of a lower section of the front line levee. That levee was approximately 16.5 feet. There was some overtopping. As of today, there is no overtopping of the front line levee in those locations. So that would, my simple deduction would mean that that water has now receded somewhat because of the operation of the floodway. And so I specifically was looking for the sections that were overtopped, and there are none at this point.
Sir, maybe you could clarify, there was a report from FEMA and the U.S. Department of Agriculture that said 2/3 of the floodway was already underwater before the decision was made to breach the levee. I'm assuming that would be backwater maybe coming back into the mix.
That's correct. It was, last I saw was about half of the floodway did have water in it, and it was from backwater.
General, final question for me, sir. Appreciate you being forthright and talking with us. The human dimension that you've spoken about, that this is, and the toll that it's taking on the citizens here in our area, can you speak to that?
Well, certainly, as I've mentioned before, I've known many of the people who have lived and worked in the floodway for the past 3 years, and many of the folks that own that land. I've had dinner with them. I consider them friends, and certainly making the decision to put this in operation was a difficult decision, especially as I overflew that area today. But we needed to do that just to protect the system and reduce the stage in a number of different areas.
Are there other floodways of this design between here and Louisiana, and if so, are they going to be operated this way?
Yes, there's three other floodways. There's the Bonnie Carey spillway, which is in Louisiana, and there's the Maganza floodway as well. Both of them are operated by a gate and not with a slurry mix.
Between here and Louisiana, though, there's...
Between here and Louisiana, I'm sorry. No, there's not a floodway from that we would operate from that perspective, but there's a number of areas where we use backwater flooding, which means that the levee is low enough so that when water gets to a certain height, it'll flow over that levee and then spread out over the land. That's called backwater flooding, and that's to spread the water out and reduce the stage, the height of the water as it goes further down. So there are going to be backwater flooding as we go further down. We have that in St. Francisville. We have that in Yazoo, and there's another area that's I can't recall right now. Yes, sir.
You said there's 3 in Louisiana, but it sounds like you keep only naming 2. Is there 4 in total?
There is another one that we hadn't used in a number of years, and the name escapes me right now.
So there is a 4th.
There is a 4th one. It's down in Louisiana. Do you guys
West of Chapelizod.
west of Chapelizod?
How many homes are in that Bonnie Carey?
In which floodway?
Bonnie Carey?
There is no houses in the Bonnie Carey. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, what message do you have for some of those folks who filed that class action lawsuit that obviously aren't excited about the action you guys have taken?
I've got a number of folks taking a look at that. Certainly, the Office of Counsel people are addressing that. My eyes right now are taking care of this flood and make sure we're taking care of everybody that's going to be impacted from that. And we're doing everything we can from an engineering perspective to manage the flows.